Joining us now, she's the head coach at North Carolina State, coming off 33 wins last season, the most wins for the Wolfpack program since 2015. It's been, of course, now this year coming in with one of the highly touted recruiting classes. I speak of head coach Jennifer Patrick Swift, back with us, become a regular on the show. Coach, how you doing?
Doing really well. Appreciate y'all having me on. How are you?
Pretty good. I know this is an exciting season that's ahead. Your schedule's out already, which we'll discuss, but I want to take a moment to kind of reflect on last year. You won 33 games, the most, as I mentioned, since 2015, which was the magical year for the program when they got to the Supers there before, of course, getting going to Oregon. When you reflected on last year, what comes to your mind? You won the 33 games, but I know you felt you could have done better in conference, which could have helped you get to the NCAA. So when you look at last year, what do you reflect on?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head is that, we were literally a couple outs here and there from 4 or 5 more wins in conference, and that takes us overall to postseason. And so, in my mind, when you fall short of going to postseason, that's not necessarily a win year. So, the 33 was great. I'm never going to be one to say I hate wins, but at the same time, we want to have some wins in the postseason this year. So had a lot of talent last year, and just we didn't get it done, and so excited to hopefully change that this year.
Now, this year you've got a lot of youngsters, new faces on the roster, most of them from this highly touted recruiting class that's among the, highly ranked according to X-Rating Softball and among other outlets that follow recruiting. What has the fall been like with the new faces, blending in with the veterans?
It's been fun, and it's a short sentence, but it's short and sweet and true. It's just been refreshing. I mean, when you have so many new kids, 9 freshmen, 3 transfers coming in, literally half your team, it's just a different dynamic. You got a ton of talent in the returners, you got a ton of talent, as you mentioned, in the freshmen and in the transfers. And just finally seeing it on campus in front of your eyes and seeing it start to mesh together has been awesome. I mean, our goal as coaches this year is to get those freshmen on the field not feeling like they're freshmen, and then also for them to get on the field and just do their thing. Sometimes I feel like coaches tend to overcoach players, and I mean, if they're good, let them be good and push them to be great. And so that's kind of what our goal is for that. But the fall's been fun. I mean, we've scripted out our games, and it's kind of been one of those things where here's the lineup for 10 innings, and let's roll with it because we have so much talent, and want to see so many kids at different positions and different orders in the lineup, and trying to feel some flow with that. So, love these kids, love this group, amazing people, and I think that while they're great, talented softball players, but the young women we have in this program right now are second to none.
Coaches never look ahead. You go through each season, but I kind of feel this has been a season that's kind of been circled because of this recruiting class. And for those maybe are not as familiar with the recruiting, how it works, these are now your players that you're starting to bring in. It takes a few years when a coach takes over a program before that recruiting class becomes exclusively their players they bring. Not that you're not against the players you inherit or anything like that, but it's just your talent players. Your situation, you also had to deal with COVID, like everybody had to deal with COVID, but COVID in your situation came right as you were beginning at NC State. I believe it was your second year
Yeah.
only there. So just take me through this process since you've arrived at Raleigh, taken over the program. Now you got to build the relationships and the recruiting trail, and now then COVID kind of pauses a lot of things. But now you've got these young players who again was I believe a top 10 recruiting class according to X-Rating Softball. So just take me through that process.
Yeah. So, to say it's been easy would be a lie, right? And you don't get in this business for easy, and you certainly don't take a job at this level because you don't like pressure. I love the pressure to win. I love when a boss puts you in a room and says, hey, like, we need to win. Let's go find a way to do it. And that being said, we have been thrown a few curveballs, right? You get here year one, take them from 18 wins to 30 wins, and you're feeling good about the direction the program's going, And the next year we're 19-6, had just swept Notre Dame for the first time in years at home, and 3-0 heading on the bus to Virginia Tech, and we get the call that the world shut down. And we had really felt like we're there. The culture had changed. The winning expectation was there. And we were feeling good. And that happened at a really bad time. And so for us, we recruit the type of players that family is important, relationships are important. The two big words in our program outside of home run mindset, right, are development and relationships. And so when you have players where relationships are crucial, and now all of a sudden for almost 2 years, you can't be with them, but in groups of one or two. They can't come to your office. They can't stop by. We weren't even allowed on campus. They're only with their roommates. By the time they start playing, they're looking to their left and their right, and they don't even know their teammate, let alone know their coaches. And so, that was that year and the following year, and still trying to get over, wearing masks. And our huddle at the end of practice was from, the plate first, second, and third. That's about as close as we could get. Can't do extracurricular activities, can't have them over your house, all these things that we know that COVID did. And some people thrived during COVID. We just didn't. That wasn't how we were built. We weren't built to withstand that, because it's all about relationships. And so we had a couple years where, again, wasn't bad, but it wasn't what we would consider, successful in our eyes, and getting to the postseason and things like that. But like you said, I mean, I think, I don't know, everybody ranks different, but I think some of the number 4 recruiting class in the country, and getting them on campus. And I do say that during COVID, we thrived in recruiting. I mean, having these kids on campus and sitting there watching 4 computer screens and getting as close as you can, watching them online and building the relationships over the phone, things like that. We got them here, and we're super excited about them, and couldn't wait to get this class on campus and get going. So, going into year 5, COVID did throw a curveball, and it kind of stopped us in our tracks. And the big thing I like is we always knew relationships were important, but when this happened, it just solidified that exponentially. And so since then, that's been our focus. It always was, but it's just underscored even darker now. So yeah, that brings us where we're at today.
What have you learned now that you maybe wish you knew when you took over the program?
Hmm. Don't assume anything. That's the biggest thing is, whether it's Division 3 where I played, Division 1 mid-major where I came from, junior college, NAIA, you don't assume they know anything until you tell them. And so, sometimes it's like, coming into the ACC, which at the time, Florida State had just won the World Series. And I mean, we're the hot conference coming up, and you get here, and you assume that because you're at, X level, that they do know things, or because you're at X level, they don't know things. And so, while we always come out and we teach and you work on fundamentals, I think that was the biggest thing in kind of where we reset, especially this year, having 11 new kids, is that you don't assume that they even know how to play catch, right? They should, but you don't assume that, so it's just making sure that everybody knows the expectations. They're talked about, they're discussed. Everybody knows the game plan. Everybody knows, the goals, and whether it's off season or whether it's bullpens or whether it's, when we're hitting, that everything is clear, concise, and we don't want to leave room for doubt. And so that's the one thing that, not that we didn't do that, but I felt like, we could have even done it better.
Let's talk about this team this year. You mentioned half new, half returning. So it's a fascinating dynamic there. Let's talk about the offense first, and start with the returners. Who are some of the returners, leaders that you expect to lead this team, either with their obviously production, but as well as their leadership?
Well, it's gonna sound kind of cliche, but at the same time, like all of our returners come back, like they're leading in different ways. I wouldn't say that we have one person that is the vocal leader that's going to stand up and say, "Hey, this is our team, this is how we do things. At the same time, I'm okay with that because, like I told our returners, how we've done things hasn't gotten it done. We haven't made a postseason, and so to think that we have it all figured out, that's just not the case. So we want our kids coming in to learn from the returners, but we also want our returners to learn from the new kids. And so that's been a really, our last meeting last year, when we met, we sent the seniors out the room, a little bit of emotional meeting, and said, hey, this is what's left, and this is what you need to do, this is who's coming in, and we're going to embrace each other, and we're going to get it done. And so it was one of those things where as a returner, it's just a different feel, a different vibe when a coach tells you that. But these kids have the utmost respect and belief in our staff, and they bought in. And our returners were doing things like having the kids over for dinner, and some of them were taking them one-on-one, different freshmen and returners and transfers to coffee and game nights and different things like that. So I can't say that there was one person that stuck out, because they all were phenomenal in making these kids feel at home from the beginning. And I think it helped too that a lot of these returners have worked a lot of our camps, and these kids have been to camps, and so they knew them, they knew some relationships. And so I got to give it to our returners. I mean, I'm super excited and proud of how they represented. This is how we do things here. Like I said, in the regards to the relationships, that relationships are important, and let's get to know each other, and then hey, we'll figure things out on the field.
So then now you blend them in with some of the new faces. Give me some of the names of the new faces you think will contribute right away to this offense that Wolfpack fans will get familiar with to go along with the veterans, some of the veterans back.
Well, I think we all know it starts and ends in the circle. We can't hit it until they pitch it. So I think starting there, having two freshmen coming in, both power-ish pitchers, but have really good spin too. Good spin, good changeup. Katera, our pitching coach, I mean, she can develop velocity with the best of them in the country. I mean, what she did last year, I mean, Aisha came in at 66 and she was sitting 70, 71, and everyone on our staff gaining 3, 4, 5 miles an hour, which is just unheard of, in a year. And so I'm excited that we have those pitchers in, and we're going to push them to throw even harder and spin even harder, coming in. But they come in with the utmost experience as far as facing the best hitters in the country. They did it in their travel ball, and playing on the top teams and the top tournaments, and so pressure is something they're used to. It's not 1 or 2 games a season that, hey, these are big games. They're playing tournaments where every game is a big game against good players. And so that edge on the mound is something that we needed, and along with their stuff. So definitely right there, looking for those two, Riley and Madison, to contribute. We've got a ton of hitters, and obviously we're excited about that. But moving from the pitchers, Amanda Hassler, she'll step in probably at the catching position. Highly recruited catcher, one of the top ones in the country, on both sides of the ball. I mean, she can hit it out to all fields. Very even keel. Little story about her: the first week of practice, we're scrimmaging, she throws out the first 3 or 4 runners, and I go up to her, I'm like, you having fun out here? And she goes, just doing my job, coach. I was like, love that, keep doing your job. So that's the type of players that we have, and prime example. But so she's going to contribute and be a workhorse behind the dish for us there. And then, like I said, offensively, any one of those freshmen can come in and get the job done. I mean, they're hitting balls out left and right. We're challenging them. Hey, you're going to see 68 to 70 on the weekends. It's the norm in the ACC. We're playing schedules where we're preparing for that, for ACC play as well as the postseason. So good hitters, well, good swingers have to be great hitters, and so that's really what we're focusing on behind the scenes with that. But honestly, any of them can step up. I said earlier, we scripted the fall. We did it separately, where we'd sit down, make a defense for 10 innings if that was that game that day, and everyone, who do we want to see where, and put them up there and switch them. And then we did offense independently. We had two lineups where kind of trying to see, get some flow here and there. But we did that because from top to bottom, anyone can step out there and get it done. So I just really think it's one of those things where any one of them can step up to play. I think Michaela Marbury, I mean, she came in and she's held down the leadoff and number two spot for us this fall. And she's not playing like a freshman. She's going out there leading off games with home runs, getting things done out there. She can play anywhere in the infield, anywhere in the outfield. So she's someone who I think right away will be contributing, at the top of the lineup too. So really excited about this group. Young but talented, and it's our job to get them not to play young as much as possible.
Is that the most athletic team roster you've had since you've been here?
Yeah, by far. I mean, we've had here and there, we've had amazing, talented young women, but at the same time, top to bottom, I mean, we can run, we can hit, and that's what we want. We don't want to just hit the long ball. We want to hit the long ball, but we want to get a couple people on, steal some bases, and do that too. We'd rather have a 3-run home run than a single shot. So definitely athletic by far.
Well, I wanted to expand on that because, like, we've talked about your philosophy about the home run and everything, but your offenses have always had variety. Do you feel this is the first roster that you have all the tools for the offense, that you're not maybe limited in a certain area? As far as your vision for this offense.
Well, I think that year, the year that with COVID was there, I think we had some athletic ability. We had, some people that could really run the bases, set some records here, the following year as far as, stolen bases in a season, things like that. So we had punches here and there, but yeah, I think from top to bottom, it's not just you need 3 hits to score them if they don't hit it out. Yeah, I would say it's definitely the most athletic top to bottom that we've had. And offensively, we get a bad rap that we teach a certain swing, and that's not it at all. We like kids that can play ball and hit the ball and hit for average and hit it over the fence, and we work on that mindset when they get here. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited because we can outrun a ball we might have missed hit now, where maybe we hadn't been able to do that as much in the past.
Yeah, no, I definitely could see that. And then obviously you mentioned the pitching staff, and it's I'm so fascinated by the talent, the youth, and the blend that you have on your staff that you've kind of highlighted. I mean, for those that may not be aware, I mean, you got Gore as a freshman who is super talented. You've got obviously other Insco who's the state was, I believe, the state player of the year in Virginia, was an all state performer in Virginia, which is an incredible state to get talented pitchers. That tradition continues. It speaks for itself. And then Riley Weidman was a top 25 individual recruit talent, according to Extra Inning Softball. I mean, and then you've got the veteran Asia you mentioned earlier. So I mean, I'm just so fascinated by this staff. Do you envision it being by committee? How do you have role? I mean, how do you envision the staff kind of complementing each other?
Well, I've always been one to, we're going to throw the hot hand. Yeah, it's important about matchups, but if I got somebody that's rolling, we're gonna put our chips on the table behind that person. And then yeah, you're gonna work matchups behind that. I think, you mentioned all of them that can get it done, the returners and coming in here, and Win, who I didn't mention before. I mean, she's somebody who's gonna sneak up on people. I mean, when we watched her the last couple years, you see her in high school, you see her in travel ball, you see her at camps. Every single time we saw her, she got better each time. And by the time that she got here, I mean, she's nowhere near her ceiling, but she's twice the pitcher she was when we first knew about her, from spins to velo and everything. So I do think that she's going to sneak up on some people. And I think as a hitter, drop ball pitchers, when you're going up and down, those are some of the hardest ones to hit, and hers is really good. She's been a little bit banged up this fall, so that was the only reason I didn't mention her early on. But it's going to be with her, and we've got 5. Aisha's, like I said earlier, she can hit 70, 71, trying to continue to push that and work on some things with her. Brooklyn Lucero, she's battled some injuries the last couple years since she's been here, and It's one of those times where you have a kid and you're like, gosh, I just hate it for her. She just can't get healthy, feeling good, and get going. It's like once she's healthy, then something else happens. But she's had the best fall since she's been here. I mean, I'm super excited about her. She came in and she shut down teams when we needed to make changes, and she did her job. And offensively, I mean, she's been one of our top 9 hitters this fall, and so that's been awesome to see. And so I think you're going to see her a lot more on the mound. We're going to keep her healthy and keep pushing. And 3 freshmen in Asia, they're completely different. You got some that their best strength is left to right. You got some their best strength is their velo. And then you got some dirty changeups and off speeds in between. So really excited about the staff, and we're going to use them and utilize them to the best of our ability. That's for sure.
You mentioned the 9 freshmen, you 3 transfers. Talk about the 3 transfers additions to your roster and what you think they'll bring to the table.
We're to the point now where we're kind of bringing in puzzle pieces. When we first got here, and pretty much anytime you're taking over a program, you're going to hit the portal and you're going to try and get a lot of kids in there. And we did that at first, but now it's one of those things where we're trying to find the right fit, the right puzzle piece of what we need. And we hit the mark 100% with these 3. Caitlin Pavlik from Pitt, our last school at St. Francis, she had been coming to camp since she's been in 6th grade. So we've known her. We recruited her, unfortunately. She chose Pitt over St. Francis, but we ended up leaving there anyways. And so full circle, now she's playing for us. So we know the talent that she has, and the belief that we have in her just to come out and be you and do your thing. And so I think that she's going to also surprise some people. Not us, because we know what she can do, but I think she's going to be a big contributor. I know she is this spring. And then Rebecca Murray, we have a great relationship with Coach Bocock over at Elon. She actually coached against me when I was playing, so I've known her forever. And what she had to say about the type of person and player Rebecca was is just off the charts. And playing Elon the last couple of years and watching Rebecca play, and she just glides in the outfield. I've never seen so many balls robbed over the fence than I did this fall, and that was her just doing her thing. It's one of those where it's boring if you hit it to me. See how far you can hit it and watch me go get it. So she's going to be doing some great things out there for us, and offensively too. I mean, she's got a great mind at the plate. She's disciplined. Her swing is good. It's gonna be in the zone a long time, which is gonna help for some things. And excited to see her out there in center. And Hannah Goodwin, I don't know that I've ever coached a player that has any more knowledge than she does about the game. I mean, I just like to sit there and kind of sit back and listen to what she has to say, to the younger players, to the shortstop. She's pretty much held down the hot corner for us this fall. But the things that come out of her mouth, just as a coach, it's like, man, she'd make an unbelievable coach someday. She just knows the game, and that's how she was brought up. And it shows. And it doesn't matter what question you can prompt her to and try and catch her off guard. She knows the answer. Where to go, who should be where. Talking like, hey, you got me here. Hey, outfield's deep. We got to go back. I'm up on the bunt. You're here. Whatever it is, she's constantly talking, and it's just innate in her. And then offensively, she's going to hit for average, and she's going to hit the long ball. And that's one of those things where, again, we're not changing her swing. That's not what we do here, but we're adding to it in the fact that, hey, like, you don't just have to be a single double line drive hitter. Like, get up there and get after it. And, if you're getting after it, you miss hit a single, okay. But if you're getting after it, you could go over the fence. And so I think she's going to thrive in this as well. So those 3 are going to be key contributors on this team for the spring.
You've already announced your schedule, which tells me you're ready to go. You're always, I love it when programs bring out the schedules early. I'm going to highlight some of the schedule here for those that may not be aware. You're going to open up at Tucson at the Kendrea Classic, which that in itself is pretty cool experience there. You're going to open up against Kansas. You'll play them twice there. You got Long Beach State and, of course, Arizona. You'll get them twice in that tournament. Then you've got You'll be hosting the ACC Big Ten Challenge with Iowa and Purdue in that field. I just want to start with the first couple weeks because then you got JMU host late coming to your place later in the year. You're going to open ACC play at Vaught Tech, among other highlights in the schedule. But I want to start focus on those first couple weeks because then you're going to actually go to Baton Rouge in late March, which I will touch on. But I want to start first with playing at Arizona at the Kendrea Classic. That's a pretty cool tournament.
Yeah, Mike Candrea was one of my mentors and role models. Growing up when I was little, watching them on TV, it was them, it was UCLA, watching that. And it's just kind of surreal thinking back to, now, just somebody that I can call up and say, hey, can we chat for a second? And really met him when we were at St. Francis when we made regionals for the first time, and we went to Tucson, and then the second year we made it again and went back to Tucson. Just just an unbelievable place. I mean, what he created there and now what Caitlin has taken over is just amazing. And you feel at home. They do it right. Their fans are amazing, and we loved playing there. And so that was one of the things. Not to mention the ball does fly there a little bit too, but um, that was one of the things when we got that email. I was like, let's jump on that. I want to go out there, because that's just an iconic place to me. So I'm a little selfish in why we're going there, but I'm okay with it because it'll be a good time. And they can ball, right? So they've always been able to. They're going to put pressure on our defense. They also can hit the long ball. They're going to throw it well. And again, so the whole thing is we're trying to get ready one for ACC play, and we're trying to play good competition and beat good competition so that we can get that bid if we need to, if we don't win the tournament for the postseason.
I'm wondering when you stepped on that field, do you think you'll have some memory, flashbacks to you mentioned? Because that's got to be a special place for you for the reasons you mentioned. I mean, that was where you took St. Francis to the NCAA tournament, as you mentioned. They like sending you there.
Yeah.
The bubble. I'm wondering what's it going to be like. Will you tell your team about those game? Being there that time, and I would imagine some memories are going to be flashback when you step on that field.
Yeah, absolutely. And ironically, I remember I was calling pitches the second year we were there in the first game. And I guess I was breaking a rule because I had an Apple Watch on, but that was a while ago, right? But it was vibrating, and I looked down, and it happened to be NC State calling. And I remember after the game going back to my room and just crying because I felt like I was like almost cheating on my team. I was like I can't be thinking about this now. Like all I care about are my girls. Like this is not, and so it's kind of cool looking back now, having now be here and have that job, but and how that kind of happened. But I mean, that was where we were the first team in any sport to win an NCAA game in the history of St. Francis, and that's something that's really special. I mean, to be the first of anything and something to that magnitude, that's important. And I'm grateful for the girls that we had on that team that won that game and that set the map for now, a storied program. And so yeah, I mean, and then on top of that, like I said, just love Coach Candrea, and just we had some things going on. We had a recruit pass away, and she was number 4, and we hit a grand slam that game, and there were so many things about it that I don't know that there's another place in the country that's as special as that for so many reasons.
No, I'm fascinated by the full circle moment there because, that put St. Francis on the map. It put you on the map because remember that was obviously ESPN televised that regional. So I mean, you got to do I think in-game interviews. I want to say with the ESPN
Yeah.
crew there. So you got a lot of first on that checked on that regional box.
Yeah, that was a fun weekend.
Um, I mentioned you're going to go to Baton Rouge in late March. I'm assuming it's during your bye week. You got La Tech, who won the CUSA regular season title, LSU and BYU in that field. Just talk about how that one came about and deciding, playing that in that tournament during your ACC schedule.
Yeah, so we had LSU here 2 years ago, and we kind of, with COVID still being in the air, we agreed that at some point within the next year or two max, we would have a return trip. And when we had them here, I mean, it was a great crowd. Love Beth, the program she runs, the type of people that she has on her staff, and so the opportunity to go down there to LSU and have them here, that kind of back and forth was awesome. And so we're looking forward to that. I mean, it's a lot of these girls, it's going to be a first to play in atmospheres like that. But like I said earlier, the good thing is the ability of them to zone out and kind of be in the moment because it's a big game, and they're going to see it as a big game, and it's my job to get them to see it's just another game, right? So there's a lot that's going to go with that, and again, it's how well that we get them to understand that the most important game, that the only game that matters is the game we're about to play. So when we open up the season, the most important game is Kansas on February 10th. And then when we go down to LSU, the most important game there is Louisiana Tech on March 31st. And so getting them to live in the moment and understand and believe in that is going to be huge. But I mean, hey, we're all excited to go down there, eat some good food, and play down there at LSU. So that's the one thing too I try to do. When we travel to different places, I'm kind of a foodie, right? So
Oh, okay.
yeah, I try and we don't do chain restaurants very often. I try and say, hey, if we're in Louisiana, where can we go that they'll remember not only that, but just, hey, we're there. Let's check it out. Check it out. What's the food like and different things like that. So it's about the experience. We're there to win. Obviously, we're there to do a job, but I also want them to be able to. They're going to places that they probably wouldn't have been going to if it wasn't for softball, and I want them to enjoy that too. So it'll be a great weekend.
Well, that's part of the experience as a student athlete, and I'm sure it's the message you do to your recruits is, hey, you come here, we're going to play in big games, in big series, and big tournaments against all the marquee teams, and I think that's a cool experience. That I've been to Louisiana, I've been to LSU. That's a cool place to check out and get to tour because a lot of these people don't realize a lot of these student athletes haven't traveled. A lot of them, some of these, I'm sure, on the roster, there'll be some that'll be like traveling for the first time, and
Mm-hmm.
you're that's going to be part of your responsibility, which is part of the job as a coach in a way, because you're developing these young ladies to becoming women.
Yeah, I mean, every year it seems we have, at least a woman or two that hasn't even flown, and
Yeah.
so like we're getting in the airport and they're scared to death, and we're telling them what's going to happen, and then yeah, I mean, I just think about myself, like before I had really gotten into coaching, I don't think I was anywhere west of Ohio, right? And so it's being from Pennsylvania, that's obviously not too far. But I mean, just what the sport and being a student athlete gives. If you just take away the whole sport itself, I mean, the ability to learn how to grow and how to interact with people and how to be confident in uncomfortable situations and yeah, to be cultured and go places and see things you would have never been able to if it wasn't for the sport. So yeah, I mean, I think that's part of my job too. And I want to do that and I love experiencing that with them. People always say, how many kids do you have? I'm like, well, I have 3 at home and I have 21 at work. And it's times like that that I really like. I enjoy sitting back and seeing them enjoy where we're at and experience the different things. And, because at that point in time, I'm not a coach. I'm kind of their mom away from mom and just watching them have fun and do their thing. And so I love that part of it.
Well, and also on the field, gets you ready for ACC, which is a strong power conference. 5 teams in the tournament last year. Louisville was right there in the mix. I had Virginia up and coming, your program up and coming. I mean, we could go on and on about the league from top to bottom and the strength of it. And I would imagine that's part of the philosophy of scheduling the way you've done in the non-conference is to get these, especially the new faces, ready for what's in store in the ACC because every weekend's a battle.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that hits it on the head. Is that we've got to prepare. Our ability to prepare them will determine our success in the ACC. And every game, as you mentioned, because of the strength of our conference, is a dogfight. There's no automatic anything when anybody plays anybody in the ACC. And I know we go recruiting against Florida State a lot, but I have to give it to Lonnie because, like I said, the year that I got this job, um, they checked the last thing in the box that the ACC hasn't done, and that's win a College World Series. And since then, the ACC has continued to grow, and it really got put on the map as one of the top conferences in the country. And I would put our teams against any conference, their top teams, our top teams, and say, let's roll. Because you've got All American pitching, All American hitters, All American defense, and that's every single game. And boy, during COVID, when we were playing 4 games a weekend, that was the gauntlet. I hope we never have to do that again, right? But yeah, I mean, that's at the end of the day, to do what you want to do and get to where you want to be, you've got to be able to beat those teams. You've got to be able to win the games you're supposed to win, and you've got to be able to take a couple maybe you're not supposed to, based on paper. So that's what we got to do. We got to take care of business on those games we're supposed to win, and then creep up on some people. I don't think that that's going to happen anymore, just because I know everybody knows the type of offense that we have, and we have the potential to 1 through 9 run the ball out of the ballpark. And so when a team is preparing for us, they're talking to their pitching staff about that. So that's a great thing. We're kind of already in their head ahead of time that, hey, we're not gonna miss because they can run it out. But conversely, that means a team's offense is going to come and they're going to swing for it. They're going to say, hey, well, if they can do that, we're going to swing right with them. So I'll tell you already, this fall we've gotten some of the team's best offensive displays that we've played against this fall. And that's going to continue to happen, and we know that, and we talked to our team about that too. And so the type of ball that we want to play is just going to encourage those teams to try and do the same thing. So, yeah, so like I said, we've got to play our best. We don't have to, play any more than that. We don't have to do crazy extreme, sports center plays to be able to win games, but we've got to be able to make the plays we need to make and get the timely hits. And that's going to be the difference if we can do that. And then, from the mound, we got to keep the ball in the park, and we can do that. We're going to have a really good chance of getting some wins this year.
And a lot of people will be watching on ACC Network, on the stream on ACC Network. How has that been a game changer as well? Because that's kind of exploded as far as the coverage, really, since you've gotten there. I mean, I've seen you a lot on TV. I feel I have to stop myself from texting you during the game and saying, "Hey, I see you there," or like, okay, that's a good hair day or something, But the point is that there's a lot of exposure, which I'm sure has helped and contribute to your recruiting.
Yeah, huge for recruiting. I mean, when you look at our roster, we have West Coast and East Coast kids, and it's not just the ability on a big game on a random pickup. It's now every time the ACC we're playing, it's either on the network on TV or it's on the affiliate online. And so it's one of those things where recruiting, it's big to say, hey, you can sit and watch your daughter play every game, and if you can't be there, you can tune in. And the ACC network itself is just amazing. The quality that they're putting out, the stories that they're getting from all the universities. I mean, it's really been a great production from there. And yeah, I mean, that's the goal, is to get as many games as we can on the big TV, and get people watching and getting them to learn about NC State. And without the ACC network, that would be a lot harder. So the more that we're on TV, the more that the ACC is on TV, the better our conference and our program is going to continue to be.
Well, we look forward to seeing your team once the season gets going, and I don't know. We may have. I'm gonna have to check back with you as far as some of where you end up going in when you go up to Louisiana. I mean, you probably know where you're gonna take them when you go to Arizona. I mean, you should know that place well by now.
Yeah, there's some good tamale places that we're definitely going to. So if they don't like tamales, they're out of luck. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we know where we're gonna stay. We know where we're gonna go, and so I'm always open for new ideas. But we do have a few staples. But I might have to get with you on the LSU to say, hey, where should
Okay.
I go?
Deal. I could give some pointers. We'll talk off air on that. That'll be good. Coach, always appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I know it's a busy time with family and obviously running a high level Division One program, but you always take the time to talk to us. Man, we've talked for a lot of years now, actually, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to St. Francis Day, so we've always appreciated you being honest and being able to come on to talk to us during that time, and we always appreciate you talking to you, and we look forward to seeing your team later this year, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Grateful for the opportunity. And I guess the big thing is if we're still talking, we're still relevant, right? So let's keep rolling with that.